There, it's with a. It's,
Therefore,
yeah, it's also online.
oh,
So
yeah,
yeah. Yes. Good evening, everybody here in Dubai, and good morning, good afternoon, and good evening for everybody who's following us online. Welcome to this session. My name is Meike Verginneke. I'm the water envoy for the Kingdom of the Netherlands. And it's really good that today is not only Food Day, but it's also Water Day, because water and food are intrinsically linked. You cannot produce food without water. And of course, food production has a huge impact on water. And the topic we're discussing today is exactly where water and food come together. So I'm very happy to be here, out of my water bubble, with your food guys, although I hope you're all water specialists by the end of the session. Before we dive into the session, let me repeat that producing food under saline conditions is becoming a critical topic. Climate change is increasing salinity issues and impacting agriculture globally. With prolonged droughts, drops of groundwater tables and seawater intrusion as salinity issues are being increased. And let's make the link with water, because we need to adapt. There will be more saline agriculture, but if our friends from the water pavilion over there do their work well, they probably can reduce salinity and saltwater intrusion problems. That requires a whole bunch of actions. We need to make water the engine of climate adaptation. We need to make sure we have enough fresh water to push back the saltwater intrusion of seawater lice. And we need to make sure we maintain and protect our freshwater ecosystems. We have been able to highlight the issues of saline agriculture in similar side events during the last two COP26 and COP27. So I'm looking forward to seeing what's the action coming out of those COPs and what we've learned since these COPs. In today's session, we aim to explore solutions and commitments, and even better, not only commitments, but actually actions. Let's start right away with our impressive high-level panel that we have here, after which we will show a short inspirational film, followed by a discussion with all of you present in this room and those who are joining us online. So please welcome the panelists here. First of all, we have Mr. Donne Slangen. He's a Vice Minister for Nature and Nitrogen Policy of the Netherlands. If I already have problems pronouncing the names of my country fellows, you will see that it's not getting better from here. Secondly, I would like to introduce Mr. Tanawat Tianzen, the Director of FAO of Animal Production and Health Division. I would like to introduce His Excellency Mr. Michael Baum, who's the Deputy Director General of ICARDA, the International Center for Agriculture in Dry Areas. And I would like to introduce, I've been told I can say Sisi, but you have a much more beautiful name that I have somewhere here. So I'm going to do the full quote of your name, because it's much nicer than only Sisi. It's Dionisa Angelica Liea, a senior scientist at ICBA, the International Center for Biosaline Agriculture. So very welcome to the whole team and the whole panel. And let's dive straight into the first speaker. Let's start with the Vice Minister of the Netherlands. And probably a pretty easy question for you. Is salinization actually an issue in the Netherlands? Have we water management managers done our job well or not? You're getting that microphone.
Well, now, absolutely, we have a salinization problem in the Netherlands, absolutely, and we didn't do our work that well because we are used to bring all the water all the fresh water we have in the Netherlands. We bring it as fast as we can to the sea, and due to the climate change, we know sea level rise, more water in different stages, more peaks in the rivers. And that means that we have to really change our water policy in the Netherlands, and that's also necessary for the food production. But if we don't do anything, then it will be 2/3 of our country almost will be salt.
Yes.
And that has an enormous impact on our food production, but on more things. Nature, you can call it. So what it needs is a total redesign in the future, and therefore it's necessary to really understand this problem, and especially in the food sector, because when you want to keep your land for food production, you now have to take measures. For instance, you have to keep some more water on land than you even want for your production today. So we have to make choices today. So it has a really big impact.
Yeah, we've been draining all that water out for 1,000 years, and now we realize that having our country as a sieve is not a very good idea. We want to become a sponge, and really keeping the fresh water.
And being a sponge means that we have another use of our land, and that's a big discussion, and therefore it's also necessary to have the debate, because we need also the support of society for that.
Yes. Water and soil as leading principles for spatial.
That's our policy. Yeah.
Spatial planning, that's our policy. We will not only talk about Dutch policies. You can come to The Hague if you want to hear more of Dutch people discussing water management and agriculture in The Hague. Let's move from a national government to an international organization. And we're very happy to have FAO, the Food and Agricultural Organization, which is of course the prime broad agricultural international organization here with us. We know that not only the Netherlands is suffering from these challenges, but many other countries are also suffering from them. I work a lot with Delta countries. I was in Colombia, was a problem. In Egypt was a problem. Circumstances are specific, but there's also some common things that can be done and need to be done. So let's move to the director from FAO. We are learning that salinity is impacting livestock. Could you provide insights into the global outlook on saline agriculture and saline livestock, and I suppose it's livestock in saline areas, no? I don't think it's saline livestock. That sounds like a very very salty flesh, yeah. And the FAO role in addressing these challenges. And you can take the microphone.
Actually, when you're talking about saline livestock, perhaps you need to say that salted livestock.
Okay.
Or salted meat. Actually, you see that when moderators introduce directors of animal production and health, I think all audience will ask, why you invited livestock people to talk about soil salinity or water issues? Because before I joined FAO, I was the permanent representative of Thailand to FAO before. And during that time, I also was the chairperson of the Global Soil Partnership, GSP. And that's why I get myself to get involved to soil issues. And that's why actually my colleagues just came to me just when I finished previous session. And she said that, so sorry, our directors of our land and water division cannot join the session. Livestock director can join the session on his behalf. But anyway, we work as a team, and that's why I accepted to talk about these issues. Because I'm from the south of Thailand, which actually my house or my hometown is just only 1 kilometer from the beach. Which actually, when you're talking about soil salinity, I have seen myself, we experience ourselves. When we're going to have let's say, because in some area that we would like to have rice plantations, and when we have a problem of soil salinities, it also is very difficult. And especially when we have water salinities as well, it really make an impact to farmers and producers in that area. And that's why I would like to give you some global outlook on saline agricultures. As some of you already know that our salt-affected soil are widely spaced around the world. Almost 1.4 billion of land is currently salt-affected. And over 1 billion are at risk of salinitation. And over 1 billion people living in the coastal area, which actually my family and I is one of those, are under threat of progressive soil salinitations. And that's why now we need to take action. And that's why FAO working closely with the government of Netherlands and also with Utrecht. So sorry, because I graduated from Utrecht University. But we know that we work closely with our university in Netherlands like Wageningen University to work on these issues. And since I'm a director of livestock, I also need to talk about livestock. For sure that we know that livestock manure, cow manure, can bring solution for soil salinity because manure can increase soil salinity, which actually when the area have a problem of soil salinity, our farmers always use manure as a solution. But sometimes it's not enough. And that's why we need other solution, option, how we're going to work in those areas. And I'm sure that the work that you are doing right now will help us to understand more solution. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, and it's good to hear that FAO is making a lot of effort to actually address salinity and to make sure that we can continue to produce food and other crops in saline conditions. Let me go back to the Vice Minister of the Netherlands. We heard something about policies in different countries. What's actually the policy of the Netherlands on saline agriculture? And do we have any?
And to be honest, we don't have a policy on saltination. We have a policy on fresh water.
Yeah.
And I think it's better to have a policy on what you want and not a policy of what you don't want. But I think there's a big relation between those two. But I think we focus on a fresh water and how we can keep it, as I said before, on the land. And that means a real policy where we have to redesign the rural area. And within that, we join it and we make an integrated approach by to combine it with the climate, the biodiversity, and the water issues. So if you combine it, then you can redesign your rural area. We do that with the people who live and work there, and we are redesigning that area, which keeps in mind how do we keep the water on the land. And that means in our peat land that we have to level up the level of water. And that means also another use of the land. But it also means that on other type of soil, because I think you said it earlier, the main focus of the starting point of the policy in the Netherlands now is soil and water. And we look in every area where water and soil quality is on its level. The level of water and soil quality is our level to make the policy, and that's what we're doing now. So it's not a separate policy; it's an integrated policy, and it focuses on the whole area, and in this case, especially on fresh water.
Yeah, thanks very much. And I think that connection between food policy, agriculture policy, and water policy is becoming even increasing, no? Actually, the Netherlands I never can say that word. The Netherlands Weather Services just came out with new scenarios for sea level rise.
Yeah.
And I think it gives a warning not only for the Netherlands but for all countries, no? Because we kind of expected a sea level rise of about 1 meter by the end of this century, which is huge, yeah, for a flat country. I mean, in the past few years, we went from 1 millimeter per year, not per day, to 5 millimeters, and now we're certainly talking about 1 meter. But it's even more so that if the ice sheets are melting, it could be 3 meters. Right? And that uncertainty, because we don't know what's going to happen with the ice sheets, is very much what worries us in the water sector, and will have a huge impact, because then you get to the 60% salinity of the whole territory of the Netherlands. So we need to deal with uncertainty. And you can only deal with uncertainty if you have good research to support this policy, because if we don't have data, we're blind in policy making. So we're curious to learn more about how research can support saline agriculture. We have 2 research institutes here. ICBA, International Center for Biosaline Agriculture. That's a very specialized, so you do nothing else all day. And ICARDA, International Center for Agriculture Research in Dry Areas, where of course salinity must also be a big question. I'm actually going to start with Iqba. How is your research adding policy relevancy locally as well as globally? Because it's easy to talk about general stuff.
Yeah, correct.
But policymakers need to know what's happening in their country, in their province, and in the end, farmers need to know what's happening in their field.
Correct. Very rightly said, actually. So, yeah, for sure. I mean, for policy and decision makers, in order to deploy the proper strategies to manage salinity on local and international level, we need good research in order to support this kind of decision making. From ICBA's perspective, we have definitely contributed in such kind of projects and work on actual research and conduct research that can support these kind of strategies and policy decision making on a national and international level. So starting from a project, for example, where we worked closely with the University of Nebraska, Lincoln, where we supported and we developed decision tools to support the drought monitoring system in 4 countries in Middle East and North Africa region, which was Jordan, Lebanon, Tunisia, and Morocco. So the outcomes of this project were actually utilized by the ministries of the above-mentioned countries in order to adjust their policies, the regulations, their laws for the drought monitoring for the future and the future projections related to the agricultural sector in the relevant countries. The second, let's say, group of activities that ICBA has been working on is to work on strategies for countries like Kuwait, like Oman, and UAE. So in Oman, for example, we worked together to develop the salinity strategy for the country. For Kuwait, we worked on the food security strategy. And for the UAE, we worked on the water conservation strategy and agriculture strategy as well. The third project that we have worked on and developed a good data that supported about in UAE, supported the use of the treated wastewater. So as you know, there is, in countries like UAE, like GCC, Middle East, North Africa, we are exploring how we can utilize marginal water resources. And treated wastewater is one of these resources that could be utilized. So having such kind of data to support the use of treated wastewater for food and feed security is very much important. And they were actually taken up by the local government, by the UAE government, to work on policies about the treated wastewater usage. The fourth project that we have run is we supported the water councils, the Water Resources Council in Bahrain. You know, Bahrain is an island that is severely affected by water scarcity. So we have worked closely together and we have run capacity building programs on how they can integrate, how they can run and establish a more integrated water resources management approach. And last but not least, we are currently working on RESADE project. It's a project that is implemented in 7 sub-Saharan African countries, where actually we're looking into how we can better manage salinity and also propose the best crops, salt-tolerant crops that can really thrive in their conditions. So through training programs, through different kind of data that are produced throughout all these different project activities. ICBA, by the way, is a center that has been established in 1999. So we are in life for the last 24 years now. And as you said, saline agriculture is core, is deep in our hearts, working from different angles and supporting through our research and data that are produced in our center, the policy and decision makers.
Yeah, thank you very much. Very interesting research. My main KPI is to get you out of here on time. So I'm going to be strict on time for all of our speakers so that we finish on time. We heard from a pretty wet country, the Netherlands. We've already heard some examples from ICBA on more dry countries, but we're very happy also to have the Deputy Director General of the International Center for Agriculture Research in Dry Areas. It's pretty obvious that drought and salinity are closely linked, but how do you link that in your research, and can you share some of your research findings? And that's very difficult to ask a researcher to do that in a very short amount of time, but I'm going to ask you that.
Sure. Yeah, that's a challenge over the short time. So historically speaking, ICADA has been working in some of the countries that are affected by salinity since a long, long time. That's especially countries like Iraq, Iran, Central Asia, and that's ancient soils that have high salinity, levels of high salinity. And so we have suggested a number of, in those countries we are advising the governments, and we have advised on a number of soil measurements, such as applying gypsum to improve the soils. But then also a number of other countries like Egypt, very similar to Netherlands, is affected by the soil water intrusion in the delta, and also there we work with the government to try to find mitigation measures. So we're not working only on with the responsible ministry that are responsible for water, but also we always think about nexus or systems approaches to look also in the food production, and of course, from the crop side, you can respond with increasing salinity tolerance in crops by including that in breeding strategies, or looking at the crop landscape and replace crops and varieties that are not adapted anymore with other crops that are more adapted when the salinity level rise. And then also a number of methodologies such as leaching soil and lots of treatments that come from with water applications to live with saline soils and to make still to produce produce crops and plants from soil-affected soils. So it goes along. From soil treatment, water treatments, but also adaptation of crops and livestock to those areas in which, as we heard, 1 billion people live in these areas.
Yeah, maybe a quick follow-up question, because it's always interesting to hear completely different language in these kind of agricultural sessions than I hear down the road in the water pavilion. How do you work with water people who don't only think about water in the field, but actually the bigger picture of, what's happening to sea level rise, etc.? How are you working with them? I mean, there's a couple of good colleagues in CGIAR.
If I'm a little bit selfish and talk about a project that I'm currently managing, this is Sivana Regional Integrated Initiative, is where we really try to bring different disciplines together. And so what we do, we have selected so-called innovation platforms in different countries. And there we bring the people that work on policies, the people that work on crop production, the people that work on water policies together. Because unfortunately, in some of the countries that we work in, we have not one ministry dealing with agriculture production. We have the Minister for Agriculture, we have a Minister for Water, and often
several ministers of water sometimes.
Yeah, so that's why it's difficult to really to bring them together, but that's a bit our task as regional organizations, to bring the main players together, because only then we can also really look into systems solution, so that we look, how we can continue crop production as well as get the necessary water. And then, of course, there's not only agricultural use, there's also water need for human consumption. So it's really physically bring the people together in working in one space, and then really learn also, as you said, the language from the other disciplines, because and that's sometimes very difficult, because Yeah, but it's really, so that's what we do, try to bring the
Yeah.
people physically together to work in one space and try to look at nexus approaches, systems approaches, integrating different disciplines.
Sounds great. So you can't make policy without research. On the other hand, you sometimes think, do these governments all use those research findings to actually make the best policies? Back to the Vice Minister for Nature and Nitrogen Policy in the Netherlands. How do you do that? How do you make sure that with research and changing findings, because there's climate change, you actually have the latest research in the policies that you make and that you apply?
I think it starts with the people, and like you said, in a specific area to discuss this, and because the people who live and work in that area, they know how their water and soil system works. So if you can share that information with those people, then you can do some more joint fact finding, and if you have to support, then you can make the policy. But it's a big fault, and we have made it. That's my lesson in the Netherlands, to have all the information, to bring it to the people and say, now we have to change our policy. We had a lot of protests to do, against that. So I think it's good to have the knowledge. It's, you have to respect it, but start also with the knowledge of the people in the area and combine it. And if it's necessary, do some joint fact-finding and go back to the scientists and ask a bit more sharper questions so people get involved in the results of science. So that's how we are trying to do it. And we are in a very well unknown situation because we want to build with nature, and we had some experience with Room for the River in the Netherlands. But what does those effects of redesigning your area with all those targets you have on nature, on biodiversity, on water, or on soil quality? All that knowledge is still under development. There's a lot we don't know, so we do have to interact with each other step by step and make knowledge better, and therefore all your policy better.
Yeah, interesting. And knowledge is evolving. You need to be iterative with the researchers.
Yeah.
But let's not lock ourselves up in a ivory tower between research and policymakers, because in the end it is about the people, it's about the farmers, it's about the enterprises in these areas.
Yeah.
Let me do a little round, you get 2 minutes each, of our research institutions and international organizations. What is the one issue that keeps you keeps you awake? The one issue that keeps you alive is water, we all know, and food. The one issue that keeps you alive and where you think that the research is needed in the coming 5 to 10 years. And really, if you can do it in 90 seconds each, that would be great.
Okay. So first of all, regarding salinity, we have to keep in mind that salinity is increasing. Just to give you a number, 1.5 million hectares of land go out of the production every year because of the salinity issues that are emerging in the soil. So from the research perspective, we have to focus, at least from ICBA side, what we are going to do and what we are already doing is to focus on breeding and developing and evaluating different varieties or different crops that are climate resilient, salt tolerant, halophytic crops. Also embed nature-based solutions or nature positive solutions, as I read in one poster outside. I really like this term. In agricultural systems, they are very much needed. In marginal areas like dry areas, also we have to focus on customizing the experience and whatever kind of innovative technologies we're developing for soil and water management, we have to customize, as perfectly said, for every region and for every country that is actually facing such salinity issues. Capacity building and knowledge, how we can transfer the knowledge and how we can make the change on real terms to the farmers, it's also vital. And of course, supporting decision and policymakers on salinity issues. Thank you.
Great, that's all very valuable. It was not one issue, I think. There were a few issues. Let's see with Icarda, what's the one issue that keeps you awake and where you're going to focus your research in the coming 5 to 10 years?
Now I have to admit, that I'm not a water person, but I'm a breeder. So therefore, we used to say that salinity is not really a breeding problem. It's a management problem. It's a water management problem and a soil management problem. So that's why we like to see action, from the expert in that field. But what the breeding programs, of course, can contribute is in all of the crops that we breed, we have salinity as a target. The target is, of course, drought tolerance and heat tolerance, first of all. But if we want to address Central Asia, countries like Central Asia, Iraq, and the Gulf, we can also include salinity tolerance in the crop breeding programs and develop more salinity tolerant crops.
Yeah, we need breeders and we need to work together between all these different professions. The only thing you need to promise me is if you breed all these salt tolerant crops that you don't then start growing them in the desert and mining the groundwater, because then it doesn't really help a lot. I'm going to skip you because I asked the international organization. So, yeah.
But you will get it. Okay. At FAO, as the knowledge organization, as a specialized organization, and that's why FAO bring you together, bring you to share your experience, bring you together to share your knowledge. And that's why at FAO we are hosting two platforms. One is the FAO Global Framework on Water Scarcity in Agriculture that some of you know as WASAC. And also the other one is International Network on Salt-affected Soil, INSAS. Which actually these two platforms is really bring all of you to share your expertise, to share your experience, how we're going to bring your experience to be implemented at the country level to make sure that our farmers, our producers can have solution for soil and water salinities and also saline agricultures. And recently at FAO as well, we just launched the new publication called Farmers Guideline on Soil and Water Management in Salt-Affected Area, which actually you know that all the guide... Yes, you are the one of those. Very good. And that's why you see that all our panelists, they are a part of solution. They are a part of FAO expert. And we would like to encourage all of you who are working in saline agricultures, soil and water salinity to share your experience. And FAO as a knowledge organization, we will bring platform to all of you and to make sure that we can bring all knowledge and can transfer the knowledge to our farmers and producers at the country level. And that's why I'm sure that you also is a part of the network in the future. Thank you very much.
Great. Thanks very much to our panel. We will have the year of saline agriculture in 2028. So all these great partners that are in the panel hopefully will have a lot of the, not only some of the solutions, but actually are ready to apply these solutions at scale. And let's not forget climate justice. We need to make sure they're affordable for smallholder farmers and for everybody, and not just for a few people in a few countries. So with that, I would like to thank my panel. Very insightful what you all said, and I know some of you will have to leave, but please feel free to stay, and we're going to see a short movie. Thank you very much. Give them a hand.
ассалаумағалейкум. Міне 2021 жыл өткен жыл осы жерлерімізге 3 гектар жерімізге галофит 2021 жылға дейін bu yerlerге makke егілерін егіп келгенбіз. Бірақ шорлағанға себепті ешқандай маккелер өсу қиынласып барғаннан кейін біз ол макке егуді тоқтаттық. Сөйтіп сол кесілгенде мына галофит тұқымдарын ектік. Жердегі шорлығын алады екен. Рекорд тұрғанымыздай Атреплекс деген тұқымын егіп, өзіміз шорт еледі. Ол Сатрепс проектімен біргелікте істеп, және де бір 3 гектар жерді ажыратып, шорланған жерлерімізді сол ажыратып, біргелікте істеп келмектеміз.
Also in my country, increasing levels of salinity are a problem. Together with the private sector and research institutions, we are working on a long-term program combining knowledge on water, food and agriculture. As salinity is here to stay, we need practices and policies that help us to deal with the problem, also in the longer term. The Netherlands is not the only country confronted with salination. We are eager to share and eager to learn.
Wageningen University and Research is committed to developing solutions for global challenges to realize food security within the natural borders of our planet, today and in the future. Salinization is one of those major challenges. And to have impact, these solutions and concepts need to be scaled. This is why our interdisciplinary researchers work together with local as well as international partners such as FAO, in Wageningen and in the region, all around the world.
Saline agriculture is one of the strategic topics in research and teaching at the Free University in Amsterdam. In fact, we have already received a number of international fundings for projects under the Aranet and also the Interact program. And we're looking forward to further scaling up our research and our stakeholder engagement on this important topic of saline agriculture with partners all around the world, but in particular with partners in Africa, Asia and South America.
With its plans to provide the $14 billion to fight food insecurity during 2022 to 2025, ADB is committed to strengthening food systems against the impacts of climate change and biodiversity loss. Rising salinity is a decreasing soil fertility, affecting crop yields, and threatening food security in the ADB's developing member countries. ADB will adopt nature-based solutions to overcome salinity in agriculture and other climate-related issues.
FAO welcomes the commitment of the Netherlands and its institutions to our collaboration in adapting and developing saline agriculture for better production, better nutrition, a better environment, and better life leaving no one behind. The use of marginal environment and the promotion of unconventional crops require joint efforts by multiple partners. FAO stands ready to facilitate future collaborations. We look forward to the next steps. Thank you.
That was a very nice little movie with lots of commitments from different stakeholders, and I think it's also good to see what it really does. I think it was in Uzbekistan that we saw the farmer in the drylands and what's happening with salinity. To finish off, take out your phone because we're going to do some Mentimetering. And while you take out your phone, let me just say one thing to link it back to water. Because we've been discussing about how we make water the engine of climate adaptation. And we see great potential in all these engineering and technology solutions, and I think a lot of that is in agricultural technologies. But let's not forget that we also need to look beyond the agricultural sector. So let's make sure we protect and maintain our freshwater resources in nature, our wetlands, our groundwater, our rivers and our lakes. And also, let's make sure that at some stage, if it's no longer possible to do agriculture in certain areas because you just use too much water and nothing else is possible, that we actually need to take into account what's possible where and really make water and soil driving forces in our spatial and economic planning. Good, people are already filling out the Mentimeter. After seeing the movie, what do you think saline agriculture is about? We also have a lot of people online, so I hope to those of you online, please also pick out. It's a bit weird, no? You sit behind the screen and then you need to take out your phone and do this, but we really would like to hear from you as well. What are the things you think about when you hear saline agriculture? What is it about after you've heard our panelists and watched the movie? What am I seeing? Opportunities. Lots of positive people here. Soil salinity. Yep. I think for now, nobody has doubled, because they're all the same level. So if you want to think one of these words on the screen is really something you also think about, please put that in, because then we get a word cloud. Kijk, zeekraal. Oh, that's a very Dutch word. Policies. Good. Let's give it 30 more seconds. Good, so it's all about zeekraal and policies. It's interesting. Let me have a look. There's 2 participants still typing. I'll wait for those. Halophytes. 1 participant still typing. Then I'll try to make sense of this word cloud. Look, somebody's saying it's about water management, and I don't have a phone in my hand, so at least I have 1 water friend somewhere online or in this room. Good. Let's look at this word crowd, and actually it's interesting. There's a number of things on soil, on crops, on kind of what are the saline soil and water, a number of things on the physical environment that we're dealing with and what's important for saline agriculture there. Then there's a number of very positive thinking people, the opportunities. I saw normal opportunity, I saw increasing opportunity, new opportunities, adaptation, very important, of course, with at the climate COP, thinking about climate adaptation is important. And there's actually, adaptation is really winning here. Good. And there's a number of things which are much more about how we deal with this. Research, policy, system approaches. Ending hunger, that's a very good one. Food security, so it is a very dynamic set of terms, but I think it also shows that we really need everybody on board to make sure that saline agriculture can keep feeding the world, whether it's research and a number of issues in research, or whether it's policymakers and water management. I think we have 1 more, right? Let's go to the last one. Good. In your opinion, what are the benefits to saline agriculture over conventional approaches to mitigate the consequences of salinization? So we have conventional approaches to mitigate the consequences of salinization, and we have saline agriculture. So why would we do saline agriculture and not these conventional approaches? New crops still grow food. Wetlands. Somebody likes wetlands because there was a wetlands on the last one as well. I like wetlands. We've lost 30% in the past 50 years and we better restore them, so good. More crop per drop. adapting to change, I think. Partnerships, we need to adapt. Climate change adaptation, new markets still grow food. I think here, this is of course not an either-or question, right? We need conventional approaches, we need water management approaches, and we need saline agriculture, because we really need all the tools in our toolbox to really adapt to a changing climate. Because if we don't adapt to a changing climate, to more erratic rainfall, to higher temperatures, to floods and droughts, we will not be able to feed the world in the future. So with this, I would like to thank all of you for your active participation. Still continuing to evolve this word crowd, but let me close this session with a great thanks to everybody who participated in the word crowd, the people who made the movie, the people in the panel, because I learned a lot, and I'm sure everybody online and here in the room learned a lot as well. Let's come together, water professionals, food professionals, researchers, policymakers, farmers, and everybody to make sure that we adapt to a climate, we make water the engine of climate adaptation, and we continue to feed the world. Thank you.